Welcome to RGBA, colorful tech news and reviews. This is episode 51. My name is Alexandre Valliere-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tyler Ménard.
So we start out with a little bit of feedback this week. I don't know if you remember which show. It was in last fall, I think it's October. The Dash iOS app was pulled from the App Store because he had problems with the reviews and all that. And it did a big fuss with all the developers saying, look how we're at the mercy of Apple and they can just shut down our business any day for anything. And then he went free on the Mac App Store too. Not free, sorry. He took it out of the Mac App Store and started installing it through his website. And he put the source code for the iOS app on GitHub, making it free for anybody to use. But he had this weird license that you couldn't publish the app or something like that. And now in May, he finally released, May 24th, he finally released the app on the App Store again. So I don't know if he got in touch with Apple PR or something and they tried to make a deal or get to an understanding. The app is back, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, from the blog post, what he said basically is that he kept having people asking for an iOS version because it's not easy for a non-developer of iOS apps to install Xcode. You load the project, compile, move, and everything. So basically, what he did is he said, "Okay, I'll try." So he opened a brand new account on the App Store, and he submitted his app, and it was approved. Waited a couple of days, said, "Okay, fine. It seems that everything is fine." So he just continues his way like that, and we now have Dash on iOS. And it was on episode 23 and 24. If you want to follow up all the saga, if you want.
Also, it's like it's a little hard to get the Apple documentation on iPhone app. You have to have the Mac app, then you have to generate the documentation as iOS something and transfer it using iTunes into the Dash app. So it's kind of you have to jump through hoops a bit. I thought it was more or less just hit the documentations you want and they download, but it's a lot harder than that. I was kind of disappointed of how complicated it actually was, but I guess let's all be happy that it's back.
Yeah, I'm guessing he probably does something on macOS, like processing the documents to be a more simpler or streamlined version, which is then easier to parse and use, or faster to parse and use on iOS. So that's why he does it. Probably he didn't want to re-implement the whole logic on iOS. Maybe he's using some framework or library that's not available on iOS. So that's probably why you need to jump through those hoops. But yeah, on macOS, for sure, that's very simple. You just click it downloads, that's it. And every time you load the app, you can check for updates. So it's pretty simple. Following up on the JSON feed front, last time we discussed that, the new format was announced. People started to develop plugins or code snippets to implement them in their CMS. Menton Reese did the WordPress one. I did the one for Jekyll, so we can have a basic template. I've also helped the guy who is now doing the update for Jekyll feed, which is the Ruby module for Jekyll that handles the XML feed generation. So it will be eventually directly installed into Jekyll as part of the main app. And since then, we have now Swift parsing libraries, Go packages, movable type. We even have Hugo templates, Python feed validators, a bunch of stuff. But now that's just the writing part. But there's also the reading part, which is the most important, because it's good that developers implement that format. But if nobody consumes that JSON, we are kind of stuck at the same place. So since that JSON feed update, we already have two major feed reading apps that implemented it. The first one was NewsBlur, which is a very nice feed reading app, and Feedbin, which is also a service that you can use as a backend for Reader, or you can use their own web client, which is bare bones but still works very well. They both now support the format, and even Newsblur, the one I use more often. Basically, if you add a new site which has both XML and JSON, it defaults to JSON to get the feed information. So it's already like optimized in a way that eventually, if everybody implements that, we could see XML disappear slowly and slowly. That's pretty nice. Moving on to the news this week. We got a bunch of news and we got a bunch of rumors. The first news, which will have I think the most impact for computer geeks, is that Intel integrates Thunderbolt 3 into the CPU. Sorry. So basically, instead of having to rely on the separate chip for everything Thunderbolt 3, it will now be included in the CPU. And also, Intel really wants the Thunderbolt to work as a standard and to be massively adopted. So they removed all the royalties that you need to pay if you want to implement the Thunderbolt 3. So first of all, cheaper for manufacturers. So they will not just implement USB 3 and not Thunderbolt 3. And also simpler, because in the computer motherboard, you only have the CPU that handles everything. So let's hope that this works very well.
And then on the car side, if you remember, Apple said that they weren't making a car anymore. Well, Mac Rumours posted a video online on YouTube. Unfortunately, the video is only in portrait mode, but
as they should do.
You see, they're filming a car. I think it's the big Lexus.
Yeah, the RX 450h
with a bunch of cameras and a bunch of wires going everywhere. So apparently, it's the Apple car.
Yep. So it really fits what the information we had from the DMV, and so instead of just being like in their campus, they're basically now on the service road. So not yet on the highway, but very soon they will be.
It's a highway or interstate if you're in the California. I think it's freeway for the rest of the U.S.
Oh, okay. Special Californians.
Yeah, or it's the other side around. I don't remember. Anyways.
All right. So talking about another Californian that is pretty special. Mark Newson, who's a product designer, working for Apple since 2014, I think, basically released a product that is not Apple. That is something that he did in the past a couple of times, but he perfected the design and everything. So it's a hourglass. So it's a glass hourglass made of transparent glass, very simple, with a specific shape. Okay, fine. But it includes like 1.2 millions of little copper beads that are treated so that they don't rust and become green. And this little hourglass is selling now for $12,000. So there were a bunch of posts this week about this, especially John Gruber from Daring Fireball, that he did something weird. He posted the article, a link post to it, and then said, "I'll come back with my thoughts later." So I don't know if he needed to digest something or whatever, but basically
digest the price.
Yeah, but who cares? It's like pieces of art, and art is never cheap. So $12,000 for a limited edition hourglass made of glass and copper beads. The copper itself is expensive. I don't know the process to make those very small beads, but it must be pretty special and expensive. So $12,000 for that thing, it makes sense for me.
Yeah.
So, well, for what it is, yes, I will not buy
take
one.
one
but
or two.
Not four. So yeah, it's not for me, but I do understand that for the price, it's like an expensive watch. Is $10,000 for an expensive watch is not something you've never heard of. So I don't know what's the problem with that. For me, it's just some expensive art piece, and yeah.
And also, it's just 10 minutes. Isn't it supposed to be hourglass?
There's a bunch of different types, and depends on the size of the hole where the sand goes through. Normally it's sand, and also the textures of the sand, if it's finer or thicker. So yeah, there's a bunch of parameters that you can play with to have different types. Some hourglasses are like for days and like hours, minutes, whatever. You know, the worst thing would be to buy this thing to set it up on your living room in a little place, super nice, and then you just start your iPhone timer, turn it around, and it does not fit 10 minutes. It's like 12 minutes or whatever. That would be bad.
It's supposed to be super precise because it has like 11,900,054 something.
Okay, it's 11 million, not 1 million. Okay.
It's very precise.
Yeah.
Number of beads.
All
or
right.
Nano, whatever they call them.
Yeah, copper beads.
But there's this fancy name, no?
Oh, of course, there's always a fancy name for everything.
Nano balls.
Nanoballs, yeah, of course. Why not? All right, going back to the tech world. The Verge did a big post this week on Anker. Anker is the accessory manufacturer that's mainly known for its batteries. The gist of it is that basically Anker is beating Apple and other big companies at their accessory game. They've been at it for many years, and they put in the effort and the quality so that the name would be synonym with good quality batteries that last long and that do not explode like some other company starting with an S. And basically they are so good that now they can charge premium price for their accessories, and the market is okay with that. So that's why they say they're beating Apple, is that Apple is usually known for high quality products with a higher price tag, and Anker is getting into that kind of business right now. So it's pretty impressive. Having owned a couple of Anker products in the past, I can concur that this is quality products, and they do like merit their price tag. They are basically well built, well thought of. They do iterate regularly on their products, but not too much that you're swarmed with like 50 different same capacity battery pack or whatever. So usually every year or so, they refresh most of the products, at least in the battery pack side. And yeah, they've add now quick charge to those battery pack, and they have nice quality, nice finish, nice design. So yeah, pretty happy for Anker. It's one of the companies I look for when I look for a battery pack mainly, and can even have cables from them just because they're simple, non-expensive, but high quality cables.
Yeah, I'm looking to buy a USB charger also, and it's the only company I'm looking for. I don't even bother looking at the cheap Chinese things. I know Anker is the one to go. It's the Kleenex of facial tissues.
Yeah, no, seriously, the brand is now recognized as being a great quality one, so it's always good to follow these, and yeah, they make great products. Discussing products, there's somebody who tries to make a brand new product. For those of you who've been listening to podcasts for many years, you know probably the name Adam Curry. They often refer to him as the Podfather, which is one of the co-inventor of the podcast itself. Basically, he's been at it for his entire life, professional radio host, and eventually podcaster. And now he's proposing something. He wanted to look at, well, first of all, his office is a mess. It's a bunch of devices, a bunch of cables everywhere. And whenever he wants to go somewhere else to do some on the spot recording, then he has to lug around like devices and suitcases full of stuff, and it makes no sense for him in 2017. So he's been working for a couple of years, I think he even said, on a product that would include everything you need to do a professional podcast record on the go or in your office, but all in one solution. So instead of having like mic preamps, like an EQ with maybe a compressor, and then have to use a noise gate, and then you have to process audio from Skype, and then you have to convert all that to USB and then to your computer, and then you need like power bricks, and then you need maybe batteries on something. Apart from getting all of this, he basically said we can do that in one single little box. So he's now on Indiegogo trying to raise $500,000 in 2 months to get the initial production of the Podcaster Pro, which is exactly that. It's a device with, I think there's 4 inputs, if I'm not wrong. So a bunch of inputs, and included in that, you've got the Skype noise gate, master noise gate, EQ mics, EQ for Skype. You have dual headphone jacks. You even have a cough switch, so it's probably like a mute switch. So like the one I have right here. So if I'm talking like this, and I stop and I stop and I start, you can hear the mute switch go. And there's no drivers, no software. It's all with one little device with 2 big knobs, 3 little buttons, and an LCD screen. So basically, it starts at $600 US, and there's a few little higher tiers with a bunch of little extras, and there's even a signature edition that you can get for $200. No, for $150 extra, and you get it earlier, so in December instead of February. So the links will be in the show notes.
It looks like a very nice little box, if you want. Like, the product looks nice.
Yeah, the design is nice. They don't show it in too much details, probably so that they don't want to get copied or something, because it's crazy how people can go on Indiegogo, find a product that's not ready, copy the design, copy the features, and market it even faster. So that's why nowadays these campaigns show you like 1 or 2 product shot at most, and they show you some details, but not every detail. So yeah, but the product is interesting. If you're planning to be serious at podcasting and you want to invest into like a USB interface of quality, you can easily go into the $200 or $300 for that. Basically, then you have to include like a noise gate, mic mute switch, everything. So you can easily go over $1,000. So for this one, for $500, it really makes sense. I'm very tempted.
And we have a new corner this week, the rumor corner. We have so many this week that we're gonna stuff. They get their own corner.
Yeah.
So every week it seems like Touch IDs in the back of the phone, Touch IDs in the front, Touch IDs in the screen, Touch ID. We even had Touch IDs on the lock screen button.
Yeah.
So now I think I saw rumors again this week that Touch ID is back on the screen. But here we have a picture of an iPhone 8 clone, and the Touch ID is in the back. So we're back at the back.
Well, yes and no. Basically, I've put those in chronological order from the oldest to the most recent. So the one you saw is right after, I think the same day that we learned about future other rumors. There were iPhone 8 clones already being made by Chinese companies. So I think they're being like on sale right now, trying to beat Apple to their own game. So they do have the Touch ID in the back below the Apple. This was posted from Benjamin Geskin on Twitter. Links will be in the show notes. It's basically an iPhone 7, 7 Plus, whatever, with no home button on the front, and it's just moved to the back. And they also did the vertical lenses. So it's just copycats. But then again, we got a dummy iPhone 8 on video the very same week, which has no Touch ID on the back.
But that one just looks awful.
Well, it's like it has a very big, very large lock button, so that's weird. Anyways, and then we had Mako Takara, who released iPhone 7s and 8 cases. So is it because manufacturers finally have the specs? Or is it because they try to be the first to market and they are guessing the design from the rumors? We can never really know which one it is.
They kind of look like the Apple leather cases also.
Yeah, so it might be
like
something.
Tests
tests.
leather case or something.
But they're being sold on Alibaba, so it's probably like maybe the company who's doing them for Apple that are now making them cheaper for reselling on Alibaba. And then after that, we finally had another rumor. This one is, I would say, of better quality. TSMC, which is the manufacturer of the iPhone CPU, which is splitting the manufacturing orders with Samsung. They basically said that the Touch ID will be integrated into the display. So think of this as a confirmation, maybe, unless it's somebody who spoke and didn't know exactly what they were saying, just trying to get the TSMC name in the news. And then after that, we got a few iPad cases leaks. But the thing I want to point out for all these iPhone rumors is the more we get close to the product, the more Touch ID will be included into the screen. So by putting it in the back, it's probably was just like a trial that Apple did just to see if it would work. Personally, I really like it when it's on the Google Pixel, but I just got this week the LG G6, and I don't find that the placement is the best, especially because on the Google Pixel, you still have the lock button on the side, but on the LG G6, the touch I do, the fingerprint sensor is a button also, which you have to press. So it's not, I would say, the best thing to lock your phone, to press from under. So yeah, that's one thing. The other thing is that since the home button is now embedded into the screen, you can now have a bigger screen, of course, that goes all the way down. But at the top, you still have to leave a little bit of space for the speaker grill, the camera, all the sensors. So what we've seen in the recent design and the recent mock-ups is that Apple would still have like a different shape of screen. So the screen would go all the way to the edge and leave a little gap in the middle for the sensors and the camera and the speaker grill. So you could have the taskbar embedded in the top, and then you have the whole screen real estate after that. So this makes sense for me. It's pretty nice in terms of the design. It can also be filled with, like, when you're playing a game in full screen mode, everything could be like part of the game except that little part in the middle. So that's nice. And the last rumor we have for this rumor corner is basically the Apple is now supposedly developing an AI chip, kind of like the TensorFlow chips from Google, which allows you to do AI on a device instead of offloading the processing to a server farm. So Apple is doing the same thing that Google is now trying to do and bring the TensorFlow or /AI chip back into the mobile device. So every mobile device would have its own kind of GPU-based architecture to do these high-intensive calculation for AI.
So we already have the A chip, which is like the basic CPU. We have the M for motion, I think they call it.
Yep.
And then we'd have like this AI chip also.
Yeah, the S chip. No, S is already for the watch.
Right.
What letter would the K chip for knowledge? I don't know. we have like 20 choices, so 20, anything from there.
Yeah.
So we're right around the corner from WWDC. So by the time you listen to this, it will be in about a week or 6 days or something like that. So just before we get into WWDC, let's take our top 5 features, hardware changes, software changes, new features, new device, whatever, that we are hoping very hard to have fulfilled in that conference keynote. So what's your top 5 of new features or thing you want, starting from the 5th position?
So I think we talked about it last year also. More free storage with iCloud, like bigger. I think right now it's 5 gigs. So like something per device would be nice, like 5 gigs per device, or just basic 15 or 10 for everybody. I think Google is 15 right now for everybody.
Yeah, it's 15. And it's also per account. But yes, more free storage will be great. Per device will even be better because you kind of
paying per device.
Yeah,
for it.
Exactly. So you are the kind of person who has invested much more money in Apple's ecosystem by buying more hardware, and you should be compensated with more spaces because of that, because you invested more money. So,
and it's not really just like in my case, because I'm gonna have to pay anyways because I use it as my Dropbox. But anyways, it's more for like my parents or friends. I see that they can't back up to iTunes because 5 gigs is not enough. They can't back up to iCloud, sorry, because 5 gigs is not enough anymore. So because the pictures are getting so big and phones are getting so big, 32 gigs, like the people film up now. So just so it's easier and safer for everybody.
And any parents will tell you that as soon as you have kids and you just want to snap a few little videos here, maybe a little 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, 1 minute here, and boom, you already have like 5 or 6 gig of videos on your iPhone, because it's by default, it's HD 30 frames per second. And if ever you discover that and you move that to 4K, then forget it. You take like 3 minutes of movie and you are getting up to 10 gigs. So it doesn't make sense. Like 5 gigs was nice when it came out, but since then, everything in terms of storage doubled, if not quadrupled. But that cloud iCloud storage did not change, and that's bad. So yes, I would hope maybe 10 gigs per device. That would, I think, would be a good gesture from Apple, and would be ideal, I say. So people maybe have like a Mac, an iPhone, an iPad. I think that's not a rare combination. So that's 3 devices, 30 gigs in the cloud, which would be enough for your photos and your videos. And you can then have, if you have lots of videos, you can micromanage that and delete things. Also, I wished, well, I'm just going to add on top of yours, maybe like iCloud management for the files in the cloud. It's nice that everything gets uploaded, but if you remove that from one device and they're stored on another device, they are still in iCloud. So, for example, me, I dumped all my photos from my phone into my computer, as you used to do in the past, but I still have like 30 gigs of photo on iCloud, and I have no fucking clue how to remove those. So I will probably need to sit down one day and do the same thing for my Mac, my iPad, my iPhone, delete everything from everywhere, and then hopefully those 30 gigs will be cleared. But I'm not even sure it's going to work. So I wish some kind of web interface where you can see all the files. You can maybe like download everything at once, or maybe like trigger like a backup to your device, and then everything will be siphoned to your device, and then you can do remove from iCloud, then you do cleanup, and then you can sync it back. I don't know. There's so much thing you can do, and we really need more tools for that. So my first pick this time, my number 5 pick, is a redesigned drawer for the app switching. If you've ever worked with an iPad and you start to use the what's it called, split screen, to have 2 apps side by side,
Split view.
Split view, yeah. So the first couple of months it was fine because you had like 2 or 3 apps and you were able to scroll, get the app you want, and that's it. But we are badly in need of new design for that, especially since Apple tries to push the Pro section of the iPad more. We should really have better UX for that. I kind of like Federico Viticci did in his little iOS 11 video, which is like a whole new level. But even if we just get 50% of what he designed, it would be like so amazing. And anything basically to show us that they're working on it, and it's not just the same thing they released 2 years ago and unchanged.
Okay, my number 4. We're not going to get it, but I want it anyways. Retina screen, external monitor, not the LG crap we have right now, like a real Apple Retina 27-inch screen. It's going to come with the Mac Pro in 2 years or whenever the Mac Pro comes out, but I want it now anyways.
Okay, and you want it built by Apple?
Yes.
Kind of like we had the Thunderbolt display?
Exactly like the Thunderbolt, but I want it Retina. It could be the same size, same thing, just change the panel. Yeah,
just make it thinner. Like the iMac is so thin. You can probably do the same thing with the new version of screens.
What's your number 4?
As you might have guessed, dark mode for everything. So a dark mode for iOS and macOS. Basically, dark everything. Like we do have the menu bar that's being dark on iOS, but the Finder is still white. Everything is still basically white, but I want everything dark. Not sure we're gonna get it though, because Apple kind of prefers everything white, and then with Night Shift on macOS and iOS, they might think that they've done enough. But yeah, dark mode would be the best. I'm very hopeful for iOS though, because if the iPhone 8 has an OLED display, using a black color is actually shutting down the individual LEDs. So they are saving lots of energy like that. So hopefully because of that device, it might happen. So let's keep our fingers crushed for that.
Crushed again.
Oh yes, again.
My number 3 is something I use a lot. I think I use it more than the actual phone, is FaceTime. I always FaceTime people instead of calling them. So I'd like to do group FaceTime. It'd be good when we're trying to organize like events or something, and we say, oh, give me a second, I'll call what's his name, and then I'll come back to you with whatever. So it'd just be good to be able to do from the phone, at least, like a big group FaceTime.
Yeah, because right now everybody's started to implement similar technologies. Even Slack now has group FaceTime. It kind of thing included in the app. Google has done this on Hangout for a while. So yeah, FaceTime is mature for that. They should do it. My number 3 basically is an iPhone 8 teaser video. We've seen so many rumors. We've seen so many things. I'm sure Apple could make a small video, maybe like 20 seconds, just like showing the curves and some details here and there. Maybe just confirm that there's no like Touch ID button on the front. Maybe confirm that like the top of the phone where the speaker grill is different, and then a shot from the back just to show that there's no home button on the back. Just to confirm like everything we've seen and have a very nice video made by them.
My number 2, more Siri intense. Last year at WWDC, they announced, I think it's 3. I always forget. I know it's good for ride sharing and ride, like you can call a ride on Uber using Siri and Lyft and all that. Messaging and calling, I forget, like calling using Viber or Skype or something. Yeah,
it's basically intents that don't need Siri to parse any data. It's always like, here's a command, send this action command to the app, and then the app will respond with an action or reaction if you prefer. But you don't need like Siri to understand the context of the app. It's only like one way. You're sending a command to the app and the app will understand and do something. Whereas if you're asking right now Siri to play something in Overcast, it needs to know about the content of Overcast. So it's a whole different challenge.
Yeah, so just more of those, especially like an audio one. So Overcast or whatever audio app can use it. Any third-party audio app can use it to play stuff, because I'm starting to use Siri a lot to text and all that. So if I'd be able, the next step, to play audio also using Siri, it'd be really nice.
Yeah, this ties up to my number 2 also, which is Siri in a can. So basically a standalone speaker with Siri, kind of like the Amazon Echo and the Google Home. But I want them to go a step further, like not just release a single product. They should release like multiple products at once, like a whole product category, which includes the cylinder, maybe a smaller version that can be attached into your house and create a mesh network. Like reuse whatever you have with the Airport Express and the Airport Extreme. Use that technology to your advantage and to make a network / assistant all in one. Include all the HomeKit stuff also in there so that it becomes a hub which you can call from the outside using your approved iOS devices. Use a screen also for one of the models. Basically reuse the manufacturing of the iPad mini screen. It can not be Retina. It's not important, because if it's a screen propped up on your counter and you don't actually need to be close to it, it can be not Retina, and you're not going to see the pixels because you're like 5 feet away or whatever. So that would be the best. Like, Apple is late to the game for this. They probably want to do something better than the competition, and for that they worked harder on the speaker side of things, maybe to make a good like Sonos kind of quality speaker. Then they wanted to make the microphones work perfectly. This will also be released worldwide, so it's going to be international support, which all the competitors don't have. But like leverage everything you have, like your networking guys, your international team, your manufacturing, to get those parts and everything cheap and into something that you can buy like 2 or 3. I would hope at least 3 devices, like maybe a small like Echo Dot Airport Express kind of thing, one larger one which could also be your router, and finally which is plugged to the Ethernet port, and then like some kind of kitchen or living room version which can receive FaceTime call, because they have FaceTime already, so it's already there, so would be the best.
I'll disagree just with one thing. It has to be Retina. You can't ship a screen in 2017 and be this awful non-Retina screen. That's the only gripe I have with your whole thing.
Okay, but what if it's $100 more? Will you buy it just because it's Retina?
Yeah, you need Retina. You can't use a screen that's not Retina. It doesn't work.
But wait, Wait, Retina just means that from a viewing distance, you don't see the pixels. So a phone is close to your face, a iPad is a bit further. But if it's a propped up screen on your counter,
Retina.
you're not going to be sitting like at
Retina.
1 foot. So Retina for this could be like the iPad 1 or 2 resolution.
Retina. Give me Retina.
Yeah, but Retina from that distance, from 5 feet, will be the 126 DPI, whatever.
Just because
which
I
we had
know.
before.
I just know. I'll know it's not Retina. Give me the Retina screen.
But it will be Retina. That's the thing. Because from the 5 feet, you don't see the pixels.
Whatever.
So it will be called Retina.
Make the iPad Retina screen. Give me one screen like that. Just don't give me the cheap old iPad 2 screen.
It will be better. We'll have more nits. Always the nits. All right. Okay.
And also, I like your point that like have a whole range of device. It looks like it makes me think about when you used to buy cordless phones. You know, you had like this one base, and you had little cordless phones you could prop everywhere in the house. It'd be like the same principle, but with a Siri. It'd be like a Siri net in your house.
Yeah, and that would explain why the network people are not on the airport group anymore. They've been moved to the Siri in a can to make those little things your mesh network, your high connectivity speaker device with HomeKit and everything. So yeah, it's a dream come true. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but I really wish for it.
Okay, so my number one, Apple Pay through iMessage. I use Apple Pay a lot. I use Interact transfers a lot to transfer money to friends because we don't carry cash anymore because we're young and cash doesn't exist. So just sending an easy way to send cash through iMessage would be really nice.
How would you do that? Like send Alex $5 and...
Oh, if I can use Siri, even cooler. I think you can already do it using Siri, but with like specific apps. If you have like money, like PayPal apps or something like that, or Stripe, but I like to do it through iMessage. Even if I can text like with an iMessage app there that we don't use anymore, but make one for iMessage and I'll use for Apple Pay. And I'll use that one.
Yeah. Yeah, they should also take care of iMessage on macOS, which is lagging behind big time.
Right.
All right, and my number one will be new MacBooks, all of them. So, which is basically refresh the MacBook Pros with the new CPUs. Probably have like a version 2 of the Touch Bar, so we stop seeing those little videos of people clicking the Touch Bar and the buttons disappearing and everything. So that's for those. For the MacBook Adorable, a new CPU also. And MacBook Air, refresh it. I don't think the way to go would be to just change the CPU and call it a day. Maybe something else. Like, I know it cannot be as light and as versatile as the MacBook One, but there's probably something they can do like more than just the CPUs. Like, just give it a bit more love. And the Mac Mini, of course. Let's not forget this little one. It would benefit from also speed boost and maybe price drop just to be even lower and be like the gateway drug into the Apple ecosystem. So to get a first computer, that's like, I don't know, like $200, $300. Yeah, that would be the best. I don't think we'll get anything for a Mac Pro. It's still too early, unless Apple underpromised and over-delivers and shows us like something like a teaser video for a new Mac Pro, and that would like make the crowd crazy. That would be like amazing, but I'm not putting any hopes on that yet because they said like we'll see you next year or in a year or at least a year, and then I don't know, the wording changed a couple of times during the following days of the event where they received the journalist at their manufacturing plant. New MacBooks. All right, so we'll see next week if we were right and if our dreams would come true, or if we'll be like crying under our desks because none of it will happen.
I hope at least we get one of our top 5 each.
Yeah, that would be very minimum. And my iPhone 8 teaser video was not very hard to make. Come on, Apple, you can do that easily.
Okay, we'll see. I have no hopes for that one.
No?
I know you want it, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the bad news, but I don't think you're going to get that one.
Yeah, I kind of don't like having so many rumors, and that is like so precise nowadays. Like you get like parts molds from manufacturing plants in pictures. Like this is crazy. Like this is a major leak. Like we didn't used to get those in the past. Like we had people saying stuff, but we never had like physical objects or physical representation. Like we now have like the specs, the detailed CAD files of the exterior shell. Like it's crazy that we have so much information, and that's sad because it removes everything from the surprise. Like once the iPhone 8 will be announced, we'll probably know exactly how it's going to look, even how it's going to work. We'll probably even have seen like a phone in the wild, and like there's no more surprises, and that's the sad part.
It's because there's a whole industry that it's built around Apple rumors and iPhone rumors. So
yeah, people are paying many dollars to get their hands on maybe the glass panel, the home button, or just the casing without the internals, and yeah.
And also the supply constraints. Like when they announce it, they have to have them ready. So they've been manufacturing them for a couple months already. So
yeah, but I understand why Apple like really wishes to be able to build some of these like in the US. That would be much easier to keep tabs on everyone. Like they could have their design lab, and then they send the information to their manufacturing lab, and that's kind of like a ultra secured government style facility where nothing comes out, nothing comes in that they don't want, like no camera phones, whatever. And they basically have very few actions being taken on the devices from outside of this this facility, so that they can really keep like tabs on everything. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe in a couple of years, because the Mac Pro, before they announced it, we had no clue of that cylinder shape. Like it was a surprise, like a very big surprise, and I was pretty happy with it because it's like finally something new that is different,
something
that is
innovative.
Yeah, cannot innovate my ass, they say. So yeah, that was a good surprise. And nowadays we don't have any surprises for the iPhones anymore, the iPads. What's only remaining is the marketing stuff, like the names and the price, but that's like 10% of the total surprise. So it's not like, anyways, just ranting about not being surprised anymore like we used to do in the past. So that's it for this week. This was RGBA number 51. You can find the show notes at rgba.fm/51. You can find us on Twitter at _RGBAfm. I'm VALLIERES on Twitter.
I'm Tylerman TYLERMENARD.
Give us some feedback. Give us 5-star on iTunes. Ask us questions if you want. Like last week, we had Tristan who asked us a question about photo management on the boat, and that was cool. So if you have any questions, scenarios or challenges, whatever, just send them our way.
Have a nice week.
Have a nice week.